You probably have heard of this drama already, but I covered Diablo Immortal, the announcement of it and its fiasco from customer experience and user experience standpoint. I covered a few things, but one was the immediate reaction from the hardcore fans.
We want to use mobile devices as the platform for a new Diablo game. Sorry.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Yes, I see a lot of mechanics that we've kind of been begging for in Diablo 3 in this. Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC.
Then there was a reaction from the actual developers.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Which was very dismissive, and it was clear that perhaps they just didn't pick the right channel to start with. And this to me signified then the lack of user research. Now, because we have another drama on our hands, there is even bigger issue, but I feel like we need to cover it because you as a UX designer, you can learn so much from this. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how good your product is in terms of the features if the peripheral or surrounding touch points or even the models of pricing aren't good enough. Now, let's start with this. The product itself is really good. The feedback for the actual game as it is glowing.
In fact, most people agree the game itself is very fun and really well made. The problem is how pay to win it is. The microtransactions in this game are a whole new breed of scummy.
One thing what I don't like from any product whatsoever is the initially free-to-play scenarios, or you being able as a user, as a customer, to opt in immediately and just play with it. But the top-ups, the boosters, the speed of the game, the items, and things like that which improve general game experience are actually purchasable, where people who can actually afford it tend to have better items, they tend to move on with the game quicker and actually can complete game very quickly if they keep on putting money into it. And that's, of course, everything in life is like that. You know, the markets are divided exactly like that, where people who can afford it have better means, better service, upgrades. There is a lot of banding already. That's nothing new. You as a customer experience or service designer already are designing that. You have a low tier, medium tier, high tier, where people who pay more get more service. That's a given. Now, what's not a given, and what I think why I wanted to highlight and make this video, was how pro players or players out there actually look at this. And an example of that is actually how much you need to invest in the game itself.
So long story short, it's about $40 to $450K. And if you put the final total on spending the fully max at just a little over $100,000.
Putting in good six figures to complete the game is complete insanity. Now, another angle of it, and it's almost like a feedback from the customer base, is that they look at it like it's an example of a corporate greed, but nothing else.
I'm honestly shocked that it's not charging you for using your own Wi-Fi to play the game. It is just absolute blatant greed, no mask, just coming full throttle. We want your money and we want all of your money.
And the game developers themselves respond in a way trying to almost justify it. And it's an example of the behavior which is less learning, less reflective, less able to be nimble to take the user feedback or customer feedback and then put it into their products or services and shape it based on the feedback. These products tend to not last long in the market. The customer base, which is less likely to engage with it, just drops off. And especially with this uproar, when you hear someone who is, let's say, in your community telling that the product or service is not that good, then you are less likely to go into it, or you are actually more likely to check it out, but you are less likely to stick. And this is what I think is going to happen. If the people in the community already decided that this is a no-go, then it's really hard to change those attitudes, and it's gonna then as a result impact the behaviors of how people opt in for it, how they try it out, how they become loyal again and continue using a product or just stop it. Because it's not just about onboarding or the offboarding of after it, or how you re-engage with a product and you kind of resume that loop and you return to use the product in your day-to-days. There's a lot of factors here, right? Like they are doing it well to re-engage you. They give you notifications. They sometimes even force you, which is that negative feature here where if you don't show up every day, you might lose your items. It's almost like a dark pattern within gaming world. Parallel stream of payments, introduction of that pay-to-win scenario where the users can get boosters as they go is very seamless.
This is 800% extra value? I'd be losing money if I didn't buy this.
And I understand how people who can afford it find it may be useful, because if they struggle too much, they can just opt in, get that booster, maybe get better items, the velocity of the game improves and things of that nature. But those things then change the actual product experience. It looks very different. It looks very different for you as a user, as someone who's actually playing it right now, because you have that fallback and you have those extra features. But also for those who are those secondary users or potential users who are considering or maybe are on the fence, there's almost like several different personas involved here. And maybe a winner is only that person who can afford it, as well as that party of Blizzard who earns that money. But the people, maybe those hardcore people who are very prevalent in the community, who talk to others and recommend this product, might not do that anymore, because we see that it's very unfair, or we see that it's quite insane to actually spend that much money to play the game and actually finish it in the terms which are described. And now, this is not all bad news. To me, this is an opportunity. Everything like that, when you get a bad feedback snippet from your users or from your customers, or you get a bad PR and there is a wave or tsunami of this feedback which is not positive, anyhow supportive of the growth, of the scale up of a product, of the adoption, it doesn't contribute anyhow. As a proposition team, with the UX, the product, the engineering, game design artists need to get together and reflect. This is a leadership issue more than anything, but everyone needs to bring the evidence. And let's say if I would be a researcher or a designer at Blizzard, I would be collecting everything that and then banging on the right doors, getting the allies to commit and say, let's change this. If you take some games which actually do pretty well, like let's say Fortnite would be one of the examples. Maybe you have heard of it, maybe not, but the pay to win element there is just by the visual means, the auditory means, the experience improvement means, which allow you to almost roleplay the things, but it doesn't affect anything else. It doesn't affect how you play with other players. And to me, this is that almost like a sub-ethical thing, where if you're autoplay with other players and you can afford just a little bit more and there is maybe a competition for items, there should be a bit of an adjustment to make it right or to make it equal, so that the opportunity is there for everyone, not just for those who pay, because that doesn't look good for anyone. But what do you think? Leave a comment down below. Maybe you're an experienced player, maybe you tried it, maybe you have your own thoughts. Do leave them down below. Also smash that like button, it certainly helps. And on that note, I'll see you next time.